All right, 5 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Beautiful Thursday morning. Hope you're doing well. I think our next coast is on the west. Our next guest, I mean, our next coast. I think our next guest is on the west coast, is what I meant to say there. Today is National I Am in Control Day, and gosh, I read that this morning. I think I understand the intent of what they're trying to say there, but I've often thought, no, I'm not in control. There's something that we refer to as God, someone that we refer to as God that I think is really in control. I don't know anything about any of that. I just believe it, you know. So I was looking at this story earlier that says there's a group of people up in San Francisco, I think it is, and they're trying to figure out a way to cure death, which is interesting. We could live forever. I wonder if we would change our behavior if we knew we could live forever. I wonder if we would be less giving, you know, if we could change, you know what I mean? I don't know, or more giving, maybe more giving. Reverend Michael Lessard probably thinks about things a lot. I think everybody I meet who refers to themselves as a pastor or a reverend or is you know, a priest of some sort, they usually always like very philosophical. Reverend Lessard is no exception. His book, it reveals this, even though it's a story. It really hits to the heart of so many things that we are all going through. He is the Dean of Pastoral Care Associates. He's the Director of the Pastoral Care Associates School for Chaplaincy. He's a priest for Good Shepherd Anglican Church. He's a chaplain at the Phoenix Baptist Hospital. And his book is called The Lost Dutchman, A Treasure Hunt for the Soul. Reverend Lessard, I hope I'm saying your name right. Good morning, sir. Thank you for being on the show.
Good morning. Good morning. It's nice to be with you and your audience.
Are you in Phoenix right now?
We are.
Okay. How's the weather in Phoenix today?
It's about 70 degrees right now, but warming up to about 80, I think.
You have a city in Arizona that Uber has self-driving cars in. Have you driven? It's in Tempe, Arizona, right?
Yes, it is.
Have you gone in a car without a driver? Have you done this yet?
No, but I've been with some drivers that I wish I had one of
those. Well, thank you for being on the air with us. As a reverend, I'm guessing you're always writing because you have to write sermons, etc. What led you to want to write the novel?
Well, it was a spiritual journey for myself and my wife. My wife died a couple of years ago of Parkinson's, and this was part of a spiritual journey I think I was on with her, and it sort of developed out of a dream I had, and I wrote it down real quick, and then I started writing, and it seemed to kind of write itself as I went, and I was wondering every day, I'm wondering what's going to happen next.
Wow. Was the dream after or before your wife passed?
It was before.
Wow. And do you think dreams in general, I don't know that this particular dream, do you think dreams in general are a way of God communicating with us or our soul communicating with us? Does any of that, do you think it's that way?
Well, I think dreams contain certain elements sometimes of our history that applies only to our experience. And so whenever we're going through a similar experience, when we dream, our unconscious brings those things to mind using imagery and previous experiences that we've had in life, and it tells us about the intensity of whatever it is we may be going through. And so it's important sometimes to listen to your dreams to connect with whatever the emotions you may be dealing with in the present situation.
So is that why some people become chaplains, because that is something that they feel within them?
You know, I've interviewed a lot of folks, of course, over the years, thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands in the hospital. And I found that most of the chaplains that we see going through the process of pastoral formation have an experience where they've been in touch with some pain in their life, whether it's a childhood illness, whether it's a significant loss, whether it's challenges that they face both emotionally or physically, that gives them or produces within them a sense of empathy with people who are going through their own pain.
Chaplains in general, I mean, I don't know a whole lot of them, but in general, and I guess part of this is from TV and movies, so that might be making it a skewed viewpoint. But it seems to me that chaplains are able to minister to people regardless of their religion and the dogma of a religion. That they are able to somehow get the spiritual message through, whether they are Christian or not, or any religion. Do you can first of all, I guess I'm asking if you agree with that, and then in second way, does that help us all? I think it does. It seems like it does, especially on like the battlefield.
Anytime or point of crisis, we look for God. We try to experience what it means, what it's all about, interpreting that. And I think the chaplain services, the pastoral care person, identifies with the pain of the person and also recognizes the relationship essential in their coping with that, which is with God. And so that relationship is really, really important, and it provides a kind of an anchor for a person going through a struggle or a difficulty or a crisis.
Dr. Michael Turner is the character you've created in The Lost Dutchman, and you put him into some of those circumstances in the story. I'm guessing that was to teach us something. Is that ultimately the goal of the book, is to teach us something?
I think so. He is a person, the character in the book is a person who has compartmentalized his life, has lived in various compartments in his life. And throughout the book, he becomes conscious of these characters that he's sort of created out of his experience. And he doesn't really recognize that until sort of the very end. But there is a journey that he's on for self-discovery even after he dies. And his family is going through a journey as well, discovering who he was, because they had a very small picture of his real person, of his personality.
And that's really hard for people to grasp, because sometimes family members will see one personality of a person and think that's the whole person, and then all of a sudden they're gone and they realize there are many more facets to that person. How do you mentor the new chaplains into giving comfort to the family and explain that to them?
Well, we train our chaplains in using 11 different active listening skills: paraphrasing, perception check, creative question. There are a number of those skills that help us listen to the person. So it's not just verbal listening, but it's also nonverbal and tone. So those body language and those elements of listening are really, really important to caring and giving care to someone. I think sometimes the most important thing we can give them is listening to whatever it is, the struggles or the issues, the hopes or the dreams, the sorrows or the joys that the person may be going through.
The Lost Dutchman's gold mine is also in your area. Can you tell us a little bit about that and the connection in the story?
Well, the Lost Dutchman is an old kind of story that has been circulating here in Arizona a long time, about a guy named Jacob Waltz who would go up into the mountains of Phoenix, real close by here, the Superstition Mountains, and he would come back into town with gold, and people didn't know how he got it or where he found it. So they tried to follow him up and through those mountains, but he would always lose them. And as a result, after he died, there were a number of maps and things to try to discover where the gold mine was or where he had found it, and no one could ever discover it. And that's the story of the Lost Dutchman. Nobody knows where the mine is. And the analogy is that we're on a spiritual journey. We're on a journey of reclaiming our identity sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Discovering who we are. And that's a treasure hunt of its own.
Is the difference between looking for gold and looking for your soul, is the difference that in looking for gold, you might have to go into the mountains, but in looking for your soul, you might go to the mountains and then come back to find out that it was with you all along?
Yes, the journey inward is a discovery of really the treasure that God has placed in your heart, and to love and care for others as He cares for you. And so that journey of self-discovery is that we oftentimes look outside of ourselves to find meaning, when really we have to start on an inward journey to discover who we are in relationship with God. And that, out of that treasure, out of that storehouse, then comes all the other things that we have to deal with. We face the challenges and the benefits that we experience.
How do we keep from intertwining our own emotions with the emotions of others? Because a person has to remain objective. Sometimes it's difficult.
Well, I think the important element, thank you for that question, I think the important element of looking inward is also oftentimes a reclaiming of our relationships. Because sometimes, as you mentioned, we can be sort of looking at self to the exclusion of others. That's not what I'm talking about. It's not a narcissistic journey. It's a journey of self-discovery to find out that who we are in relationship to others and how we can care for them and love them as God loves us. And so we have to look at the fruit. In the New Testament, Jesus talks about that the fruit that is produced by caring is obvious to people around us. And even though at times they may look at our motive askance or judge us harshly, the reality is caring is its own byproduct of our relationship with God.
I love what we're talking about today. The book is called The Lost Dutchman. It's a story, and in the pages of the story, you're reading a novel. But at the same time, Reverend Michael Lessard is the author, and he has taken his skills as a man who can direct you toward what is true about your spiritual self. And I think you've interwoven that part of what you are about into this story in such a wonderful way. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly, Michael?
Yes, it's Lessard.
Lessard, okay. Yesterday, Robin and I went to lunch with an old friend, and he was telling us about a movie he had seen. I can't remember the title of it. And he said the movie asks the question, is it nature or nurture? And the conversation evolved to this point where I was saying, well, there's really more than one kind of nurture. There's the nurture from outside of yourselves, the nurturing that your family and your friends and your teachers and coaches and everybody around you gives you. But there's an inner nurturing too. And I think, for example, when you are introspective and thinking about, like, let's say, for example, you're growing up in the slums and there's no way anybody ever expects you to get out of it. Well, if you believe that, then you're going to probably stay there. But if you do the inner thing, which I think is what Jesus tried to teach anyway. I think sometimes you look inward, you start to see, oh, wait a minute, there is a way out, and I'm finding it. So the nurturing is yourself. You can nurture yourself sometimes. Not that it means without God. I think that's what God wants us to do, is look within ourselves.
Yes, because I think we can find His nurturing of us there. We can begin to examine the fact that our relationship with God, if it's a nurturing relationship we have with Him, because we see Him as a nurturing, loving Father, then that produces a wellspring of goodness in our heart, because that's God's nature, that's His person working within us. And so we align ourselves with that relationship with Him, then He produces the outward benefits of kindness and generosity from our spirit to serve the needs of others, to care for them.
Well, you could have gone in the opposite direction when you lost your wife. And how did you manage to work through your grief and come out to be such the positive person you are?
Well, thank you, Robin. It's really about her, and I suspect that if your audience, if anyone has experienced a loss in their family, the benefits we have in those relationships stay with us forever. Love doesn't disengage. I think, we oftentimes think that that the world is a transitory place, and it is. But there's a part of us that never leaves us, and we may leave behind the trappings of their world, but eventually we're going to see God face to face, and the only thing that we take with us in their journey is the love we have been blessed with in life, and that's who we are, and that's the benefit of those relationships, is they inspire us to love more and care for others. And my wife was like that. She inspired me, cared for me, and loved me, and as a result, I miss her terribly, of course, but the love doesn't go away.
The love doesn't go away, and the grief from the loss of your wife has played a role in your development, even as much as you wouldn't have planned it that way. You wouldn't have wanted it that way, but if God is really in control of our lives, he knows that this grief is somehow contributing to making you a better person, which is kind of what you have in the book. Yes.
It's a journey to discover where God is in that, how we can experience goodness and in the challenges of change, and the challenges of life and death.
Life is a mystery, isn't it? By the way, I went to Amazon. You got 5-star ratings. That's awesome. The paperback is available for $28.99. That's incredible. But the hardcover, are you familiar with the price of the hardcover?
Yeah.
It's huge. Is that accurate?
I think what's happened is some people have bought them out in Europe.
It's $373.89.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy.
Wow.
How many have you sold at that price?
Not many, I don't think. There must be an inflationary process involved.
Wow. It says you can get a new one for $35, but you can get a hardcover one for $373.
We'll have to change that, Larry. Thanks for letting me know. I don't have to sell too many that way, though.
No, we had a guy on one time. Let me tell you a quick story. We had a guy on. He was from Germany, and he had a book called How to Become a Millionaire. And he sent us this book, and it was bigger than the Holy Bible. I mean, a hardcover, beautifully bound. But the font must have been 2 inches big, right? It had 100 pages of pictures, poorly illustrated pictures, by the way. The edges of the paper were gold, so so for all intents and purposes, this looked like an amazing book.
It included a highlighter.
I got a highlighter with it. He sent it to me. The book cost $1,000, and the book basically, if you read the whole thing, said sell 100 books at $1,000 each, you'll make $1 million.
Yeah.
No, sell 1,000 books.
My book subtitle is "The Treasure Hunt for the Soul," but I don't really mean literally.
Since you are the director of the Pastoral Care Associate School for Chaplaincy, how do you know the incoming students will be good chaplains and if this is truly their calling?
We train them in using the skills, so there's a 40-hour introductory process that we can see them work and learn the skills and deal with some of their own issues during that time. And then there's an internship process where they're supervised in clinical work in the hospitals. And that goes on for almost a year.
Oh, gosh, because that's a huge responsibility chaplains have.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
The hardest part when you know somebody who has lost somebody very close to them, and that's your case, but I'm putting myself not in your shoes, but in your friend's shoes. They must look at you and see you differently than you see yourself because of the fact that you lost your wife. I don't even know if that is a necessary point of this conversation, but I have a friend who lost his wife, I guess is where I'm getting at. And when I went to see him, I had a choice. I mean, do I act like I always did, or do I, feel sorry for him? And I chose the first, to act like I always did, and he seemed to really be good with that.
Yes. The issues that a person goes through in terms of loss and the challenges of dealing with that kind of emerge on their own whenever that there's a need there. And the best thing you can be for someone who's going through a loss is to listen to them and not to impose your own questions, but to allow them to discuss whatever issues that come up and percolate from their unconscious whenever they need to talk about those things. Sometimes, especially with children.
And in your book, The Lost Dutchman, you did refer to family before. There is a son and a daughter, each of the characters in the book, and it's a different raising a son than raising a daughter. So you also deal with those kind of issues.
Yes, yeah. The challenges that the family involved faced in terms of their relationships, and we see this so often in families where there is a loss, because there's also a reconnection. At least there's a possibility of some reconnection of parts of the family that have perhaps been estranged, and a reconciliation of the parts of the family can happen oftentimes, and do happen then.
So part of the book I just wanted to bring to your attention, you might be able to cash in as an advertisement for the Coors Beer Company. Can I read that little paragraph here? This is what it says. He lifted his lantern up from the ground with one hand and pointed his stick over toward the back of the cave. Hunter felt his muscles tighten. See there? The lantern illuminated 2 Coors beer cans up against the rocks. I think that is the most dangerous beast that we have to deal with.
I think it's brilliant because it goes beyond surface. It goes way beyond surface.
It does. It speaks to our temptations. It speaks to our weaknesses, right?
Yes, it does.
And not just a weakness for beer or for chocolate-covered cupcakes, which I just had, which was really a practical joke because the chocolate frosting got everywhere. It was just a trick somebody pulled on me, I think. But I think it also speaks to. I mean, the whole book does this. It speaks to the truth about us. We saw this sad movie called Manchester by the Sea. Mm-hmm. Have you seen this movie?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's so sad. It's such a sad movie. But I took away from that, I said to Robin, I think there's one thing about this movie. The characters treated all the things that happened to them honestly. That's the way people really are. So. Mm-hmm.
And your book has wonderful values instilled in there, because sometimes people have to have values as a group, and sometimes they have to have them as an individual.
Yes.
I have a copy of the book here. On Amazon, it sells for $373.89.
Better get them while they're hot.
Call me if you would like the copy that was sent to me. I will be glad to leave it for you. It's actually a very well written story, and gives us such a great, profound message and a lesson. I love these kinds of stories, by the way. I'm always amazed at guys like you who can pull this off. Good morning. You've got the book. Who's this?
Yes, Larry, put Marshall's name on it, please.
Marshall?
Yep.
Okay, all right, you got it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Awesome.
You're welcome. I think you're going to love this one. Reverend Michael Lessard, thank you for getting up early. I know you got up early. Did you have any interviews before ours?
No, not. I've got plenty to do, though, the rest of the day, and I appreciate your time today.
Okay, and
we time of your audience.
And we recorded this. I do not have a picture on it, other than maybe in production I can put the picture of the cover of the book on this, and instead of our logo. So.
Okay.
But I'll keep the logo in the beginning. That's in case my boss is listening. The logo will be in the beginning.
All right.
Reverend Michael Lessard, thank you so much for being on the air. Give us a website if you have one.
It's www.pastoralcare, PASTORAL, care, CAREAZ.org, and you can order it right from our website.
Pastoral Care.
And the hardcover book is not $365.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for being on the air with us today.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thank you. We will take a little break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to The Source, WOCA Ocala.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. A hearing on Russian meddling in the U.S. election getting started in the Senate Intelligence Committee. As far as the House investigation, a closed-door meeting for Democrats this morning. The committee's ranking Democrat Adam Schiff will have a face-to-face with committee chair Devin Nunes.
Schiff did say in an interview yesterday that it's all about getting their Intel Committee Russia hearing back on track. Schiff also said he is not going to let Chairman Nunes freelance by going around committee members and straight to the White House when he finds out something good.
Fox's Peter Ducey. For some, online shopping could get a bit more expensive starting this weekend.
Amazon.com will collect sales tax in all 45 states that charge it. The Wall Street Journal says states are also targeting small companies that sell on Amazon.
Fox's Ginny Kosola. And Malaysia says it's allowing the body of the North Korean leader's murdered half-brother to be returned to North Korea. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Napa know-how.
A Napa guy knows the only way you'd give a freshly minted driver a brand new car is if he promises to never drive it. Instead, let him grind the gears and knock over the neighbor's mailbox in something a little more suited to his skill level. And with over 500,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, he can safely drive something that's nearly as old as he is. It's not perfect, but it's perfect for him. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million. What color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.